What's up, everybody? Alfred Flores, CEO, President of New Age Electric. So today in this video, we're going to talk about Article 700 Emergency Systems in Chicago Electrical Code 2018 edition. The reason I want to do this one is that I'm bidding a job that it is in a building that does not have a emergency generator, but is required to have an emergency system. And the way around that is they are using integral batteries for the fixtures to meet this code. So in this particular case, I'm going to be talking just only on what's required for fixtures with internal batteries in relationship to the batteries, the relays, the test switches. What do you need? What is required? So let's jump into it. So first thing off, your emergency systems are, as this is shown in your definitions, emergency systems are intended to automatically supply illumination, power, or bulb to designated areas and equipment in the event of failure of the normal supply or in the event of an accident to elements of a system intended to supply, distribute, and control power and illumination essential for safety to human life. Now here's the one I want to talk about, is the relay automatic load control, which is required when you are using, obviously light fixtures that have to go to full brightness when there's a loss of power. So there's a relay automatic load control, and this is a device used to set normally dimmed or normally off switched emergency lighting equipment to full power illumination levels in the event of a loss of the normal supply by bypassing the dimming / switching controls, and to return the emergency light equipment to normal status when the device senses the normal supply has been restored. So if you don't have and we're saying this for example, you have a fixture that has an integral battery and you don't have this relay device, well, the fixture doesn't know or can sense when there's a power loss. And what this relay does, it basically clicks over. So let's say if all your fixtures were in the off position and nobody was occupying the space at the time, well, the relay device senses that the power is gone, switches over to the battery portion of that fixture, the relay device, and then it's going to go to full brightness, and then when the power senses back on, it's supposed to go back over again and switch back on to the normal circuit. All right, let's go into emergency section, the emergency battery equipment. Okay. So 700.66 gives you the approved unit battery equipment and battery systems to use. Specifically, we're going to be looking at this one. So like I said, in this case, we're having fixtures with internal batteries to meet the emergency system requirement in the building, because it's required to have a system and it can't meet, or they don't have the other systems available in the building, such as a generator, a diesel or gas, an inverter. So they want to meet it by using battery backups, and it has to be for 90 minutes. So the listing and label. So all these right here are the most utmost importance. And these can tell you your basically your install criteria for a contractor to know that what you need and what you need to put in. So basically saying that all your unit batteries shall be listed and labeled as an emergency luminary equipment. Individual unit equipment for required standby emergency luminaires shall consist of the following. Now, this says individual unit. Now, this means each fixture. That's the way I interpret it. The city may interpret a different way where I don't know, but the way I see it, it says it each unit, and I'm going to explain why. All of these have to meet the following. Got to be a rechargeable battery. That's the integral battery within the unit. A battery charging means. So that's going to be the normal power circuit that's going to keep the battery charged. Provisions for one or more lamps. It's going to have lamps in there, more than one lamps in this fixture as it is. The most important one here, a relaying device arranged to automatically energize the lamps upon failure of the supply to the unit equipment. And basically the batteries of suitable rating capacity to supply and unit period of lasting 90 minutes. So you got to meet this criteria too. When I mean you, it's the manufacturers. The manufacturers know that if you're putting a battery in there, it's gotta be 87.5% normal battery voltage, and it's gotta be at least 90 minutes of runtime. And then acid or alkali storage battery designed and constructed to meet the requirements of emergency systems. So each fixture itself with an internal battery have to meet A through F. Now you also have provisions. The unit equipment shall be provided with, and I'm going to explain why these three are important, because I don't normally see these on job sites, but also keep in mind a lot of the work where we have an emergency system is required. There's more than 80% of the time that I could see has a generator there. So this is one of the reasons why you might not see this, because this is only applying to the unit battery equipment. A test switch for checking the operating conditions of the unit. B, pilot switch to indicate when the battery charger is functioning. When tied to the normal source, functioning of the battery charger is intended to mean the presence of charging voltage. So the pilot switch is probably going to be clear red plastic, and it's probably going to have a little glow to it, meaning that it is charging. The pilot lights shall not be marked ready to indicate power available, so they don't want you to have it marked saying that. So here's the thing about Chicago, and if you're in high rises or you're in buildings, there is a thing called platinum ceilings. If you're not familiar with platinum ceilings in Chicago, everything needs to be in conduit. Cat 5e cable, low voltage cable, T-stack cable. They want every single thing in conduit. Chicago plenum, boxes, whips, everything. So if you have a lighting control system to meet, ASHRAE code for energy usage, there's a lot more work to do to meet these provisions and the listings that they give you in Article 700, the emergency systems. I got a few things up here, and I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. So, for example, Nlight. I always use Nlight. It's real popular. It's very easy to use. It's one of the few people who actually donated their products so I can test out and show you guys how this works. I'm still looking for a Hubble and any other systems, maybe even Lutron QSN systems. If you guys want to donate products, I can make videos on theirs too. Back to this. So one of the provisions here is that test switch. And if you understand how this power pack works, these are connected to a knockout in a 1900 box with a nut on it. Here's the thing. In a situation where you're in a Chicago plenum ceiling, guess what? This is going to be in a box now. Not only is this in a box, this switch is no longer, in theory, accessible. You can't test it no more. It doesn't give you a pilot light switch or anything. So what do you do in that case? Well, there's other things you can do. There's different functional devices that you can use. Actually, it's called Functional Devices Incorporated. They have these remote test buttons, and it's basically it's a 2-wire dry contact remote test button. It's got the light on there, push to test. It's lit up when it's when it has basically current going in it, so it shows you that there's power going to it. And you press it, and it should either turn the light off. I think it's going to turn the light off or on, or it should have like a delay where the lights go on and off. And it tells you how to do the testing and stuff like that for it. And once again, you got low voltage wiring. And if you're going to mount this to the grid, and an inspector's got to come and press that button and test it, it's going to be for every single fixture that's going to have a battery. So that's going to be a plenum box, a plenum width going back up to at least one of the 1900 or 11B boxes that you got up there to hit the power pack. Also, they also have the same thing. It's a UL924 20 amp automatic load control relay. Does the same thing as that power pack does, but it's not, it's not an N-Lite product. This is something totally different. And in this case, if there wasn't a there's different ways you can do it. If there was use emergency lighting as normal lighting, or if you're going to use it overriding 0 to 10 volt dimmers. So they told you how to wire it up when you're using dimmers and whatnot. So when you do start putting these in, whatever program you're going to use, and set some time, always give a little time for the guys to figure this out. It is not that easy to figure it out. Particularly in this case, you're going to see that there's an emergency panel, which you're going to know this is coming off of a generator. Transfer switch gets the power back to the panel, illuminates everything downstream. We don't have this. We have a battery backup. So this is going to be totally configured differently, and I barely figured this out a couple days ago, how to wire this up to a fixture. So it's not easy, and it may be easy on paper, but when you're up in the ceiling trying to wire this up and putting this all back into a tiny box, it's a little bit more time consuming and a little bit more complicated. So I know I went through this really quick, but I want to show you the importance of there's different scenarios when the ceiling is non-plenum, when the ceiling is plenum, when you have to use batteries instead of an emergency circuit. And also keep in mind that you're supposed to have separate raceways for exits and emergency lighting, but if you look back at separating wiring systems, you have to read this carefully. So it says emergency lighting and exit lighting system feeders and branch circuits shall be completely separate and independent wiring system from all other electrical systems, starting from the source of the current supply to the last lighting outlet on the system. But then the next paragraph states, the emergency illumination and exit sign equipment branch circuit conductor shall be permitted to occupy the same raceway and share the same branch circuit. These branch circuits shall not be a part of a multi-wire branch systems. So, if you're not aware, you know that you can't share the same raceway with normal power with emergency, but in that separate raceway you can share the exit signs and your emergency power to the lighting fixtures for emergency illuminations in that same raceway. Going back really quick just to reiterate on these power packs. Particularly only Chicago code and a plenum ceiling. This will more than likely be in its own plenum enclosure. So in this case, you're going to have end light system. You're going to have a plenum box. You're going to have a Cat 5e cable coming into that plenum box through a whip or EMT, whatever the case may be. And then you're going to have another electrical box, and that one is going to house basically all your circuits, and then your wires from the fixtures, your fixture wires. So just to reiterate, we're going to go back. Your battery equipment should have rechargeable battery inside, the relaying device, and the pilot switch. For each fixture, and this is the way I'm interpreting it, is for each fixture. And the only reason why I would say yes 99.9% is because if the inspector comes by, he's going to want to test each switch, make sure the battery is charged, functional, the relay device is shooting it back over to the individual battery integral to the fixture to make sure everything's working, it's bypassing the switch and everything. So we know that human life, at least you got an opportunity to get out that building when an emergency happens. Alright, so that'll be it on Article 700, Unit Battery Equipment. Guys, have any questions or comments, drop them below. If you haven't, click subscribe to the channel. And once again, this is Alfred Flores, CEO, President of New Age Electric. I'll see you next time.